Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing today, guys? Today, I'm going to be talking about the debt ceiling and how it affects your money. So, welcome to the live stream. If this is your first time joining me, my name is Alex. I share with you tools, tips, and strategies to help Gen Xers get over their fear, anxiety, and doubts about money so they can live their best life and leave a legacy. So today, guys, if that's something that you're interested in, by the way, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. So today, guys, I want to talk about the debt ceiling. Okay, what is it? A little quick explainer, and share with you how it affects you. Okay, so let's get right into it. So first things first, what is the debt ceiling? Okay, so way back some decades ago, Congress was given the power of the purse strings. Congress controls the purse strings, okay? And so decades ago, I would probably say it's probably in World War I, World War II, somewhere around there. Um, when the United States government gets to a place where they don't have enough revenue that comes in for the year, they have to borrow money. And so let's say, for instance, they Congress has set a budget. We'll just say $100. Okay, and all the spending and all the programs and everything that's going on that and all the obligations that have to be met by the government, let's say that those things equal to $120. Okay, so you have a difference of $20, right? So the government has obligations that exceed the amount of money, so they have to borrow. All right. So, so let's say that the limit was $100 on the amount of money that they could borrow. That was set. Well, Congress has to go back and say, okay, guys, it's okay. It's okay if you borrow the extra $20 and take the debt ceiling up to $120 so you can meet your financial obligations. Okay, so that's how it works. All right, and so over time, over the years, those deficits, okay, they add up and add up and add up and add up, and pretty soon, so when you hear people talk about the national debt, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about all the years that the debt has continued to accumulate plus interest over time. That is what's considered the national debt. Okay, so so we're back at it again. So the last administration, um, they put together a budget that the next administration or the new administration has to kind of adhere to. So, so the last administration made a budget, right? And they had so much approved. And so the next person that comes in office, they have to kind of live by that budget until a new budget is put in place. All right. So right now, we're at a place where there's a standoff between Republicans and Democrats. Okay. The Republicans are threatening to say, hey, we're not going to vote to give you guys the ability to raise the debt ceiling. Okay. Because we're set to run out of money come either October, middle of October, or December. Okay. So, what doesn't get paid? Okay, let me give you an example. So you'll see readily if you are someone who is uh, a Social Security recipient, Medicare recipient, somebody who is in the military or a veteran, guess what? Those checks won't go out if the government does not raise the debt ceiling because they won't have any more money to meet their debt obligations. So, so directly, if you are a federal employee, if you are part of the military, or you are a veteran, or you're getting some type of Social Security benefits, then obviously this is a direct impact to you. That means your check, your money, may not get sent. Okay, so this is a very dangerous game that politicians, Democrats and Republicans, they keep doing this. Every 2 years or so, right? Where they find themselves right back in the same place where they have to keep raising the debt ceiling, keep raising the debt ceiling, keep raising the debt ceiling, because what they're finding is that their level of spending exceeds the level of revenue that they have coming in. Okay, so that's how the debt ceiling affects federal employees directly. So how else does this whole thing affect us or affect you? Well, obviously, if we default, or if we run out of money, we won't be able to meet our obligations, and some of the other obligations we won't be able to meet is some of the interest payments or the debt payments on the money that we've already borrowed. Okay, so the government, just like individuals, borrows money. Okay, some of the money that they borrow, it comes from the Federal Reserve. Now, I know some of you guys think that the Federal Reserve is actually a federal agency. It is not. It is a private group of banks and bankers who have been given the responsibility of uh, of of lending the U.S. government money. But in order for them to borrow money, they must be given the ability to do so by Congress. All right. So if we run out of money, that means the monies that we've already borrowed up until this point, we have debt payments and interest payments that need to be made. One of the countries that holds a lot of our debt is China. China has a lot of U.S. debt, which means we start to default on our ability to make interest payments and make debt payments to our creditors. Not a good look. Doesn't look that's not a good look. You don't want that to happen, because then, just like individuals, if you don't make your payments on your credit, on your bills, and if you start skipping payments or missing payments or not making full payments, guess what happens? Your credit scores go down, right? Same way with the government. If the government doesn't meet their obligations, their credit scores will go down also, and it will become more expensive for them to borrow money, because creditors would not be so sure that the U.S. government is going to be able to pay them back. Okay, it's sounding just like an individual, right? When it comes to their credit, and so the final thing is this. The final piece of it is when you start having all this uncertainty always has a negative effect on the stock market. Okay, so if you are someone who has money invested in the stock market, guess what? This affects you, okay, or potentially could affect you. One of the things I would encourage you, first of all, let me make a little disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor, okay? So if you have one, I would say now would be a good time to consult with them. But if you have monies invested in the stock market or in the bond market, I want you to understand how all this, what all this means, because you might see that the stock market might start acting really, really crazy. So it might, it might drop off 10, 15, 20%. I don't know. I'm just saying that anytime there's major uncertainty in the financial markets, the stock market always goes crazy. And so if you are someone who has been investing in your company's 401k program, 403b, TSP, um, IRAs, Roth IRAs. I want you just to be aware. So if you start seeing the stock market act funny, this is now is not the time to have um, a knee-jerk reaction because you see the stock market, plummeting or dropping. I don't want you to feel like you have to start selling, 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 selling. And and the reason being is, if you don't have need of the funds, right, right now, and you are able to you're able to let that the money that you've invested stay in the market, over the next 5, 10 years or so. Guess what? You're cool. You're fine. The market will rebound, and it'll start to trend upward. During whatever your holding period is. So I don't want you to feel like you have to panic and sell. Don't. All right. Um, so that's number one. And then finally, um, what else I want to say? So we understand how it affects the stock market. Oh, and if you're not investing in the stock market, guess what? Now might be a good time to start. Why is that? Um, typically, when you are putting money in the stock market, what you would like to do normally, regular buy and hold investors are people who buy stocks and they hold them over long periods of time. Okay, so you want to try to buy a stock when it's down. Okay, and so guess what? If you start seeing the stock market trend downward, you start seeing some stock prices start to fall, that is a good time for you to start buying some of the stocks that you may have been watching for some time, and you've been waiting for those things to kind of go on sale. So this is what's called buying the dip. Buying the dip. Okay. So if there's something that you see and you start seeing that the price is starting to fall a little bit, you know, you don't have to move all your chips in at one time. You can buy a little bit here. So you might say, let me buy a little bit this week. You might want to buy a little bit 2 weeks later or next month. So when you are buying bit by bit by bit by bit, when you're investing your dollars, or whether the price is up or down, that's called dollar cost averaging, which is a fancy way of saying that you're buying over time. um, the price that you are buying stocks at, when you start to average those prices all together, you will more than likely be buying it cheaper than you would if you bought all your stocks at one particular point or one particular time. So, say for instance, you might see a stock that might be $100, we'll say. Well, If you buy a little bit over time, you might buy it when it's $105. You might buy a little bit more when it's $90. You might buy a little bit more when it's $95. You might buy a little bit when it's 101. So when you start to average all of those things together, you tend to, that's called dollar cost averaging. You tend to buy them cheaper because you're buying bit by bit by bit by bit over a period of time, as opposed to buying all at one time at one price point. I hope that makes sense. So this debt ceiling thing, if you are, like I said, if you are someone who depends on the federal government um, for your for benefits, for your check, for your monthly income, you might want to write or call or email or tweet your senator and tell them to get off their butts and approve the debt ceiling, because all the money, the budget was made up. They already agreed that they were going to spend X amount of money. Now, the Republicans are saying, well, yeah, we agreed to go to the bar. We agreed to have a whole bunch of drinks and hang out. But then when the bill comes, we don't want to pay our part. That's what the Republicans are doing. So you might want to get on the horn and call your senator, email your senator, tweet your senator, and tell them to get off their butts, stop playing around with this thing, get the debt ceiling approved. So, hey, I love to answer any questions, any additional questions you may have. I hope this helps you and gives you some understanding of how all this works. And so I sincerely hope this helps. So I don't want you to right now, like I said, to be at a place where you're panicking. But I will say, if you are someone who works with the federal government or is very dependent on a federal check, receiving a check from the federal government, you might want to get on the horn and tell your senators to get off their butts and get this thing passed. Okay? So there you have it. I hope this helps. Take care, guys. I'll see you on next time. God bless you.